intercepts better than I have. If you have better data on reserves, you can nail these down. If you want to do a little work getting estimates of these slopes of these lines in between would be a thoroughly useful thing to do. Yes? Let me get there. Okay, let's see. I'm not sure how I draw this, but let me work on this. So here's a representative set of countries. There's a bunch of others I could add, of course. Let's think for a moment about how to aggregate these things. So we know how to do this, although I'll ask you how to do it. What do we want to do if I construct global oil supply now? Why do you say the reserves? So to get global oil supply, I mean, it will depend on the vertical lines for sure. So how we constructed aggregate supply functions previously, aggregate demand, is sort of the same thing, but the construction similar. What's that? Yeah, it's a horizontal summation of these things. And so if prices were very high, if they were high enough that all the, maybe I should say that first of all. So imagine the prices are extremely high. I don't know what this number is. This is not to scale, but suppose it was way up here. This price, what would all these countries do? They'd extract every drop of oil, exactly. So at that price, that's what would happen. Let's go ahead and work out what supply would be across these countries if prices were this high. So I'm going to do a little graphical. I'm going to take this thing, I'm going to add it to this thing, and then I'm going to add this thing to this thing, and then I'm going to add, so I want to mark there. How many paces is that? So, okay, about 2 paces to this thing. So, so something like this is the supply for oil at this high price here, where all these countries stock out. All right, so let's work our way. We started at the top, so let's work our way down the supply curve now as prices fall. If prices, maybe so I'm going to draw the price axis over here too, so I can cut down on my walking. So I guess that was something like this. Okay, so at this level of prices, we're going to imagine lowering this. How low do prices go before supply changes? Yeah, to the last person to stock out of the resource. That's the point here. So let's see if I can. That's about 6.2. Okay, so about here. Okay. So by the way, so if prices are above this point, what is true? What can we say about the elasticity of the supply curve, of the aggregate supply curve here? Yeah, there's no change. I mean, look, there's no change in y. We change prices. There's no change in y. We say it's perfectly inelastic. And so think about that. The supply elasticity, remember, is some epsilon equal to df dp p divided by y. And the point is that df dp isn't changing. So we say it's perfectly inelastic. No, yeah. So this thing is 0. So perfectly inelastic. Okay. At this point, though, something changes. What's that? What is the? If we make the price a little bit lower than this level, what happens to aggregate supply? Yeah, how much? Yeah, the sliver. So the only country, if we go a little bit lower, the only country whose supply responds is Venezuela. If we make a price here, for example, all the other countries we have here, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the U.S., and so on, they've already stocked out, so their supply doesn't respond. But Venezuela's does, and so we'll get a slope for a little ways, which is equal to the slope of Venezuela's supply function. So how far will that go, though? Actually, quite a way, actually. So it's the only one who's going to adjust their supply until prices get down to here, which is where Kuwait starts to adjust its supply in this diagram. So, all right, that's about 5.4. So we'll get a little bit of response from Venezuela. That's too steep. And it'll be a distance, by the way, of this. That's the better way to do this. Okay, here. And then at this point, Kuwait will begin to respond. Okay, so Kuwait, and so now what happens to the slope of the aggregate supply curve? What's it going to depend on? Yeah, there's two countries now who are adjusting their supply. As prices fall, they're going to cut back their supply to something less than their stock out. And so those two countries are Venezuela, that'll go on for a ways, and the other country is Kuwait, who's now adjusting, and they're adjusting at a faster rate, the way I've drawn this at least, than Venezuela is. So to get that, what we can do is think about Kuwait starting to adjust, and it's got a slope. Let me draw another point here. So this will go down until Saudi Arabia adjusts. That's the point here. So at this point, price point, we'll have Venezuela reducing production by this much, and we'll have Venezuela reducing their production by this much. So I think that's some of this. So that's relative to this. So I don't know, something like this. So that's meant to be a little bit steeper than it was previously until we get into the point where Saudi Arabia begins to respond. And okay, cutting out something that should actually be less. I think I drew this poorly. It should be a little bit less steep. Okay, anyway, so Saudi Arabia responds. So if we add up Saudi Arabia, the next country that enters is the U.S. So yes.
I think actually it's going to go vertical before all the way.
Venezuela's responding. Remember?
Yeah, then it gets vertical before Kuwait.
Oh, I see. Oh, you're right. You're completely right. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. This is not a relevant point. What's your name? Jameson? Jeff, could you give Jameson an extra point, please? Yeah, no, you're completely right. We hit this corner first. You're absolutely right. So we should worry about this price level. I'm drawing this poorly. Sorry. Let me try this again. It's a little bit too steep. Okay, so this has a slope. This is all Venezuela. Let me label this. It's my ability to draw it accurately for. So this is the response area for Venezuela, and it stays the main responder till about here, and then is that its total production? No. Oh, it's the only one that responds till we get down to here. That's the deal. Yeah, you're right. So it should be that. Okay, thank you. Yeah, good. So this is all Venezuela. Okay, here, and then they stop responding. So we actually have another little vertical segment until Kuwait responds. There we go. That helps a lot. Thanks. And then, so let's pick a point like this, or this, where Saudi Arabia hasn't responded yet. So that gives us this much U.S. production plus this much Kuwaiti production plus this much Saudi Arabia production. That doesn't have something better. Let's see. Okay, anyway, so it'll be a little bit steeper than this. Oh no, it'll be exactly. Sorry, Kuwait's the only one responding here, so it'll have the same slope as Kuwait until we hit Saudi Arabia. So here, this will be Kuwait responds. And then, this is supposed to be the same level, Saudi Arabia enters the market. And then the slope's going to depend just on this and this until we get down to the point where the US stocks out. So between the current level and this one, we'll have slopes that look like this. So a little bit flatter than what we had. At this point, so this is Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, who have elastic supply function in this region. And then the US enters. So we have the US production. That is, just because the US has a very small, is a very small producer over a very small price range here, it's going to have a small effect on global prices. So I'll make it a little bit flatter until we get down to $15 a barrel, and then US production is 0. And then we're back to it all being just again adjustment by Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. So in this region, it's the US, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. And then below here, again, it's all just Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. That's supposed to be a straight line. Okay, so all Saudi Arabia and Kuwait. So we've traced out something like an aggregate supply function for production for these four important producers. We talked, by the way, about the elasticity of supply back here. We said it was 0. So this is perfectly inelastic supply there. What about elsewhere? How does the elasticity of supply elsewhere on this curve compare with the elasticities of the individual firm supply functions? There's a few easy cases. There's another region here where supply is perfectly inelastic for a little bit. Then prices rise a little bit, and the slope is pinned down entirely by Venezuela. So here, I don't know if I drew it very well, but the slope here is supposed to be the same as the slope here. Is the slope in this aggregate section more or less elastic than Venezuela's, the elasticity of Venezuela's supply? Well, the slope is the same. Remember how the elasticity, so here's the formula for the elasticity. So this part's the same, and price is the same, but what about this part? So that y, if we're thinking about just Venezuela's supply, the values of y we're thinking, suppose we compare this point, or we'll do it right where it stocks out. Okay, so let's take this point, or just before this point maybe. So the supply elasticity for Venezuela here is this slope, which is df dp, or the reciprocal of this, the inverse of this is that slope, of course, divided by the slope of this thing, which is p divided by y. But this value of y is much smaller than, say, this value of y, and so as a consequence, which elasticity is larger? So p is the same, df dp is the same in this example, but y is not. In the aggregate case, y is much larger, so elasticity is much smaller. So remember, the slopes are the same here, but the slopes here depend on units in a way that the elasticity doesn't. Remember, it's the percentage change in total output. It's percentage change in total output, which is over here, divided by the percentage change in price. Is another way to think about the elasticity. And just because the total here is much larger, the percentage change is much smaller for a 1% change in price. All right, that's not okay. All right. Okay. So let's think for a moment about what happens as prices change over time. So this is going to be more hand-wavy than usual because this is still a static model. But let's think about prices changing over time. If this is really our global supply function for oil, so it has some nice features that that the real world supply for oil must have. It depends differently on technological parameters and reserves in a sort of nice way. So that's excellent. So let's treat this. Let's take this thing kind of seriously for a moment as a model of global oil supply. So let's imagine. So it wasn't actually that long ago when oil prices were $30 a barrel. That was true just in 2000. So oil prices used to be scale terrible. Let's say they used to be down here. So that gives us aggregate oil supply something like this at that price. As prices increase, they've increased a lot. They're around $100 a barrel right now. I think yesterday they were 97.8 for an index of oil prices. So they've increased a lot. Okay, so let's first of all point out a defect of this. Have any of these countries actually stocked out of their oil production? No, that's sort of a defect of the static version of our model. You might think that if prices remained at $100 a barrel for a while, they'd stock out. So maybe that's the way to think about this thing. If it were the case, let's suppose that the long-term world price for oil turned out to be $50 a barrel. And I'm not saying it is. Let's just suppose it was. So it's $50 a barrel. So that's a point right here where it becomes economical for Venezuela to exploit its Orinoco belt. If prices stayed at $50 forever, then we'd have a total, and this, well, gee, that's not really a straight line, is it? But anyway, we'd have a total global supply of something like this. Would we ever run out of oil in that description of the world if we're taking this supply curve seriously? No, why not? Yeah, Venezuela has all these reserves. The marginal cost of extracting the reserves is greater than the price, and so it would never be economical. If prices stayed at $50 a barrel, it would never be economical to extract these resources. And there probably are, in addition to Venezuela's stuff, there are the Canadian tar sands. There was a large discovery of, or so this beginning to be exploited some tar sand stuff in Pennsylvania now, which is vast. So if prices get high enough, there probably is really a vastly greater supply of petroleum available to us, but at a marginal cost of extraction, which is considerably higher than where oil prices are now. So it's not hard to believe that there will always be oil in the ground. It'll just be more expensive than it's worthwhile to get out. All right. Now that's not necessarily. It could be the case that the oil prices sort of over time go up without bound. And in that case, you can imagine eventually extracting all the oil, even if they're just tied up in tar sands or whatever. So one thing that we should consider, though, is that oil isn't the only possible source of energy. It's the most important source of energy for the U.S. right now, at least by a fair bit. With coal a second, but there are other sources of energy. So for example, now I want to allude back to Thomas Edison at the beginning of this thing, who seemed to indicate that solar energy might be a wonderful source of power. So if we're going to think about, let's think about output here and getting energy from solar power, photovoltaic cells, or something like that. Let's think about how that technology would work. So what features would a supply curve for energy from solar have if we were to draw it on the same kind of axis, do you suppose? Just thinking in broad strokes about the technology. Yes? Well, you're not going to stock out. That's a nice feature of it. And I guess you could imagine covering the entire surface of the Earth with solar panels, and then you might be in trouble. But you can always put stuff in space. So short of a Dyson sphere, this is an idea advanced by Esther Dyson some while ago, and the idea was that a truly advanced civilization would have run into the problem of running out of ground to put solar panels on. So what they do is they take their star and surround it in a sphere so as to capture all of the solar energy. Anyway, so maybe it's possible to stock out, but it would be, the stock out one would be way off that way. Okay, so that's one feature. So you would never stock out. What would the slope? So the slope of these curves was a marginal cost, like a marginal cost of getting additional energy out of the technology. What would the marginal cost look like? Well, when you see you have to pay for the panels and stuff, this is marginal, not the marginal cost. Well, parallel to what? Remember something we said earlier, which is that if we have a constant returns to scale production function, then the supply function is perfectly elastic. It's got a flat thing. Its marginal costs are constant in this world. They don't depend on alpha to y. So if we think that solar cells, if it's constant returns to scale to production and sort of maintenance of those things, it's probably, I don't know if that's strictly true, but it doesn't depend on the stock of a resource like oil. So we'd expect the curve to be quite flat. Okay, so to have a very low slope. Yes. Yeah, so there are these inputs you need to use. That's right. So that might be analogous to the L and K that we're using right now. So that might shift. If labor prices went up, that might shift the marginal cost up or down. Or if the price of silicon went up, for example, that would shift it up or down. But the thing that's flat here just depends on how much of the stuff we're producing, holding those other prices fixed. So you're absolutely right. In the long term, we might expect increased labor costs or decreased labor costs, whatever, to change that thing, move it up or down. But holding prices of other stuff fixed, we'd expect the marginal costs, I think, to be maybe not constant, but pretty close to constant, at least compared to the oil case. So I think the supply curve for solar should be a pretty flat line. What should its intercept be? And why? Yeah, okay, very good. So oil is about $100 a barrel right now. We see, solar is being used importantly in some applications, but at the price of generating energy from a photovoltaic cell, it's still not competitive with oil. So the marginal cost right now must be higher than $100 a barrel for the equivalent. So it might not be a lot higher. Maybe it's twice as high. I don't know. But so there might be the scale here is, I'm going to erase it in fact, it's too misleading right now. But there might be a technology up here. Maybe there's a marginal cost for this thing of, maybe it's $200. I don't know. I'm making this up. So let's say that this is the marginal cost of producing energy using current solar technology, taken as given current prices for labor and capital and so on. And this thing now is just flat. And okay, so something like that. Okay, now how does that change? So let's think about, instead of global oil supply, let's think about global energy supply when we throw the solar thing in here. How is it different? How is if I want to add up the supply curve from solar to the supply curve for oil? Well, so what'll happen here, the way it's drawn at least, we'll have the same, we don't use solar at all to displace petroleum, given this story, until the price gets up to $200, the way I've drawn it. And again, that figure's made up, but it's, I guess, more than $100 at least. So we have the same, exactly, so no solar's going to be used to displace. We're not going to have any practical solar cars or anything, because oil's a lot more expensive. But so we'll have the same aggregate supply curve for energy. We'll match that for oil up to here. Then at this point, in this story, we stock out of the Venezuelan Orinoco belt. And then prices go up, but then we hit this point. And then we switch over to solar. In this story, we actually stock out of all the oil that can be produced for less than $200 a barrel, and then switch over to this constant returns to scale production function and become an oil-free society henceforth. Yes? It's a totally hand-wavy thing. The argument I guess I would make is that we've sort of, it's related to why I have an argument that oil production is diminishing returns. It's because we take as given, in the oil case, the stock of reserves we have available, and the marginal cost of production depends on how much reserves we have. For solar, we don't really have that problem, at least for the next few billion years. It's not hard to imagine if you can build one sort of solar installation with a certain amount of labor and capital, building an identical one with the same amount of labor and capital, and you'd expect to get out the same energy. So that's the idea. Now that land is a fixed factor that we're sort of not taking. Once we cover the Sahara with solar cells and started to move into more marginal places to put stuff, then that would increase the marginal cost presumably. But the slope's going to be much less than the slope of the oil things here, I'd argue. And if I were a little bit taller, I would have made it slope up a little bit. Is that clear? All right. So a couple nice things we